Welcome to Fluxedo Junction. I'm Scott Kuchler. Each episode, we bring you the best music of all genres from throughout the world. And this week, we'll be speaking with legendary drummer Jim McCarty of the Yardbirds. A musical force since the 1960s, the Yardbirds are back on the road, keeping alive the enduring legacy of one of rock's most influential bands while expanding their music into new horizons. The current lineup features McCarty on drums, Godfrey Townsend on lead guitar, John Idan on guitar and vocals, Kenny Aronson on bass, and Mike Scavone on vocals and blues harp. They'll be performing at the Bolton Center in Bayshore, New York on Friday, April 4th, and we're going to speak with Jim about the tour as well as his recent solo recordings. Let's start things out, though, with some classic Yardbirds music, featuring Eric Clapton on lead guitar, Keith Relf on vocals, Chris Drea on rhythm guitar, Paul Samuel Smith on bass, and Jim McCarty on drums. This is For Your Love, here on Fluxedo Junction. You're playing at the Bolton Center in Bayshore, New York on April 4th, and that venue has become sort of a regular stop for the Yardbirds on tour. What qualities make a performance space enjoyable for you?
Well, I think mainly it's a great audience. It's really, it seems to always go down well at the Bolton Center. Well, of course, it's a nice place. It's well organised, but the fans are very nice there and they're very loyal. But we're doing a different show this time because we played there, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And we're doing a show where I talk about the history of the group.
Oh, wow.
Quite a lot. And we have, we illustrate that with that projection. And as the songs come up in the history, we play them. So it's a bit different, and it's an experiment.
That's really exciting. Now, this lineup of the Yardbirds, in my opinion, is one of the best ever, and I know that's saying a lot. Aside from yourself, there's Godfrey Townsend on guitar, who I've known since his work with John Entwistle of The Who. You also have guitarist and vocalist John Idan, who's worked with Top Topham and also with Rick Lee of 10 Years After. You've got bassist Kenny Aronson, who's worked with Bob Dylan and Billy Idol. And then you have Mike Scavone on vocals and blues harp, who I know not only is a member of Ram Jam, but he was also in a legendary New Jersey garage rock band called the Doughboys, who we love around here.
Yeah.
Now, what is it about this lineup that makes it work so well?
I don't know. It's always a bit of luck, you know. We've had this lineup for a while. We had a different guitar player, and Godfrey came in. I don't know. It's a very good chemistry between the guys, and they're all such great musicians and nice guys with it.
Now, in addition to your work with the Yardbirds, you were, of course, a founding member of the band Rennaissance, and you've released material on your own. In 2018, you released a great solo album called Walking in the Wild Land, and in 2023, you released a single called Breath of the Wind, which is a lovely track. Could you tell us a bit about where you find your inspiration when you're working on music outside of the Yardbirds?
Yeah, it's quite different, isn't it? A lot of Walking in the Wild Land was really about the wild land where I live, because I live in the south of France, and it's quite a wild area. There's sort of mountains and lots of forest and everything, and I love it. You know, I love nature, and I really have a feeling for nature. But the latest track, the Breath of the Wind, was actually dedicated to my wife, who passed away about 4 years ago, and I did lots of experiments and lots of research, and I found, I can actually get in touch with her, and it was really rewarding, and I thought, I'll put this into a song, and it really, I think it really worked nicely.
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful track. I really, really love it. Now, you've worked with some of the most influential musicians of all time, and your own influence on today's musicians is considerable. But I was wondering, do you ever find the weight of your musical history to be restricting in any way when you're trying to work on new things, or even just touring with the Yardbirds? I'm sure now you've explained that the new show is sort of a retrospective kind of a show. But
Yes.
does it ever get tiring for you, like going over the old stuff when you're still actively, obviously working on new material as well?
Well, the difficulty is it's such a strong repertoire. The old stuff seems to get stronger and stronger, and that I think that's the problem with trying to write a new album. You have to. The last new album we wrote was in the last new album was Birdland in 2003, and we did some new songs, and they were actually quite good. I don't know whether you heard them.
Yeah, I love that album, actually. I really do.
Yeah, and we did some new songs on there. We did some of the old songs with guest people, star people.
Yeah.
And the new songs, I thought they were very good, but it's difficult living up to like For Your Love, Heart Full of Soul, Shape the Thing. You know what I mean? It's they're all classic tracks, and I don't really get fed up with them because I'm not playing them week after week. It's just the occasional tour, really.
Speaking of touring, what are the biggest challenges that you face on the road these days?
Well, the biggest challenge personally is that the show requires a lot of energy, and to do night after night, say 4 or 5 nights in a row, that's quite a lot of work for me. But I've sort of experimenting with this new show where I don't quite play as much. And so I'm thinking, maybe I could do more shows like that because I'm not playing. One of the other guys is going to play a couple of the songs on drums, because I don't want to keep getting up and down. So I'm going to see. It might be a lot better physically for me, and I could do more, longer tours because it's better for the whole band, if we get more work.
Sure. Let me ask you, what do you do for fun outside of music?
Well, as I said, I'm very interested in all that stuff. When I investigated with my deceased wife, so I love all that stuff and all the near-death experiences and the sort of consciousness thing. So I'm very interested in all that stuff. But I always was really. I don't know about flying saucers and all that. I'm not that interested. We used to be. Keith Welch and I, the singer of the group, we used to like all that stuff. But it's all that spiritual stuff I like, and then I like. I play tennis. I try and keep fit. I like the open air and nature and walking and to an extent I like that sort of physical life.
This kind of leads me into my next question, which is, are you able to tell us anything that inspires you outside of music in terms of like books or films or even visual art?
Yes, there's lots of books, going through all that subject I spoke about, and I quite like art. There's a lot of artists in this area, and some of the landscape stuff, I really like some of the modern art. I find that inspiring, and lots of books, and I love actually listening to classical music a lot.
I was just going to ask, what kind of music do you listen to in your downtime? So you've answered my next question as well.
Yeah, well, I'm living in France, so I like the French composers. You know, I like Debussy and
Sure.
Fauré, and Ravel. I know he's Spanish, I think, but
Yeah.
all those sort of composers. Of course, all the Shostakovich as well. You know, yeah, I like. I mean, there's some great music around, and some nice sort of fairly modern classical.
Do you have any advice for musicians who may just be starting out? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but it's difficult to speak with a legend like yourself without kind of asking for some sort of advice for beginners.
Well, I always say the same, actually. I always say, well, you need to be in a team, so you need to be with other people that enjoy the same sort of music and people you get on with. That was always the case with the Yardbirds. It was always a very strong team. So I would say if you're starting up in music, if you can find friends that like the same sort of thing, that's helpful, because you know, playing in a band on your own is very difficult.
My last question, because you've already been very generous with your time, is what's next for you after this tour ends? Do you have an idea for any more solo material that you might be working on, or anything else on the horizon that we can look forward to?
What's going on? There always seems to be something going on. You know, people say, "Can I play on this or that?" You know, these odd things that I play on sometimes. I'd love to do some more solo stuff, but it's a lot of work. You know, it takes a lot of time for me to compose all the music and find the right musicians, and really there's not really much payback to it. And not that I'm in it for the money, but I'd have to finance it all myself, and probably wouldn't get the money back. So,
Right.
you know, that's a straightforward sort of issue.
Well, in that case, we're lucky that we have this Yardbirds tour and an opportunity to come and see you perform and see the new show, and we're really looking forward to it. I really want to thank you for your time. You're a hero of mine, and I was nervous about this interview leading up to it, so you've been very kind and very accommodating, and just thank you so much, not just for this interview, but for all of the years of wonderful music.
Oh, that's very nice, Scott. Thank you. That's very nice.
Okay, that brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks to Jim McCarty of the Yardbirds for joining us. The Yardbirds are on tour. Check them out on the web at theyardbirds.com. Check us out on the web at mixcloud.com/Fluxedo-Junction. My name is Scott Kuchler. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week.
Disappointments of our lifetimes, our frustrations and our fears. Unseen achievements lie there waiting for our futures to unfold.